general Metro world itself is still in the Creative Commons.
That's awesome. I mean, so speaking of Creative Commons, just this is a slight tangent, but I feel like I got to point this out. So
Yeah.
in America, we have this thing called public domain, and the reason why public domain has been stuck since the
Yes.
1910s is because of your boy Mickey Mouse, fucking Mickey
Yep.
Mouse. So,
Goddamn Disney. Mm-hmm. I I have such a huge grudge against Disney. For that fact alone, aside from the fact that they're a media monopoly that has gobbled up every other industry in America. No, I hate that stupid mouse. But yeah, off of James's point, for folks who aren't familiar, um, oh god, what is copyright law in America now? It used to be like life plus like 50 years, which is what copyright and
not even. It
yeah.
was even shorter.
But yeah,
They keep it's really complicated.
it's been expanded sometimes. But yeah, in most modern European countries right now, it's like life plus 50 or life plus 70. So, the author lives, the author dies, their family has the, ownership of that property or maybe a company, depending on how it fell. And then 70 years after the author has died, it's released into the public domain. And that's how you get things like Sherlock Holmes, which is wildly popular because it's public domain and anyone can make a Sherlock Holmes story. Perhaps too many people. Look at Elementary and the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes and the BBC Sherlock Holmes.
But hey, the more the merrier.
Exactly, right? And why not? Why not make a new Sherlock Holmes? Everyone knows Sherlock Holmes. He's so popular. The basics of the character is he's a detective. It's easy to work with that, right?
Yeah.
But Disney decided, fuck artists and fuck the Creative Commons and public domain. I realize I don't think I've cursed this entire episode right there.
No worries.
It's how much the stupid mouse boils my blood. But yeah, now it's like life plus 70 years plus like an additional 30 if he wrote it or if the author wrote it for a company like Disney. So, if I don't know, James Cameron writes a new Avatar movie for Fox, which is now owned by Disney, that world won't enter the public domain until like another 130 years from now, assuming he dies in like 30 years, which he might. But yeah, like that's such a huge gap in the public domain, and as a lot of people might be aware, The Great Gatsby just came into the public domain this year. Last year, was it 2020? Maybe it was 2019. That was the first year in like 4 decades that anything entered the public domain.
It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. That said, we are starting to get a lot of really boppin' like jazz and country music from the 1920s, like entering the public domain. Oh man, It's so good.
What's frustrating is like if they didn't keep extending this, there'd be some great songs from the 40s and 30s that we'd have access to right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's just like even 50s. There's so many great like Frank Sinatra songs, Louis Armstrong, and it just literally just because of a mouse, we don't have access to these things.
Right, and I think there's inherently this idea that if you create something, it's yours, and you want it to be yours. Obviously, you and I, we work in film and audio, and those tend to be very collaborative because of actors and because of, stage managers and filmmakers and everything else. But yeah, let's say you're a novelist like Stephen King. Obviously, he sat down and he wrote those 400 pages over the course of a year or whatever it was, right? And yeah, of course, you're going to have a deep sense of ownership and pride over that because you made it, and that's cool. But at the same time, it's like, well, if someone loves the thing you made, if someone really loves Mickey Mouse, like, why not just let them draw Mickey Mouse? Why not let them make their own fan comic or a short film or a t-shirt line? Why not share? I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is like, it's just the idea of like, oh, no, this is my ball, you can look at it, but that's it.
Well, especially after the creator's been dead for so long, it's just, to me,
It's like, right, like, listen, if I'm dead, I don't care what you do with fucking anything I've made, you know. You can, even my bones, dig them up and like put them on display somewhere. Like, come on.
Oh, man.
Now, I've secretly committed myself to, you know, by the time before I die, I'd like to commit the few works that I've made so far to the public domain. Which, you know, right now, as a low budget podcaster who has worked on one big Creative Commons project and a few other private ones, like Clarity and like Margaret's Garden, and there's like 5 other shows that I've made that I don't want to think about.
Oh, yeah?